Today's video is a Yasuo deck guide which includes gameplay at the end. We go through Mulligan strategy, we talk about sideboard strategy, as well as different versions of the deck that you could play if you want to experiment. If you want more budget decks, make sure to give the video a like and subscribe. And don't forget to check out my brand new podcast, Into the Rift. On our very first episode, we covered 5 or maybe even 6 different budget deck ideas to get you started with Riftbound. Welcome everybody to my first Riftbound deck guide where we are looking at Yasuo, which is a budget deck but also a brilliant deck. This is not a deck which is cutting corners in order to be budget. It is just a very competitive deck which just so happens to be extremely cheap. The total price of this deck is about 35 euros. And thank you very much to our channel sponsor Card Market. If you're looking at picking up singles for Riftbound to buy this deck, Card Market's the place to do so. So Yasuo as a legend, it uses the green and purple or the calm and chaos domains. And it has the ability where you can spend 2 energy to exhaust it and move a friendly unit to or from your base. Yasuo is definitely an interesting legend ability. I don't think it's brilliant because it doesn't have a passive effect. It's an effect which you have to pay to use. And therefore, what tends to happen is that you can't use the legend effect until around turn 3 to 4 in the game. And that can feel quite slow. So while I'm not in love with the legend ability, the color combination just gives you access to some brilliant combos. Particularly the legend ability gives you a great win condition in the late game. Usually at this point in a deck guide, I would start talking about the chosen champion because they're often the centerpiece of the deck. But in this one, I actually think that Kayn is the centerpiece card in this deck, which allows this deck, in my opinion, to have a real competitive edge. It has amazing synergy with the Yasuo legend ability. And if I could pick Kayn as my chosen champion, I absolutely would. Of course, you can't do that in a Yasuo deck. There isn't currently a Kayn legend in the game. But we are playing 3 copies of Kayn to give ourselves the best possible chance of drawing this card early on. We always want to play this card as soon as possible, and my whole strategy for the deck revolves around playing this card down as quickly as possible. Usually that's going to be on turn number 3. When you're at 6 runes, you can just play Kayn down, which means you need to be really cautious of spending too much energy or power costs before getting Kayn down. Getting Kayn down as quickly as possible is your biggest priority. You're going to play Kayn down to your base, and then Kayn is going to ready at the start of your next turn, and you're then going to use the Yasuo legend effect, paying 2 energy to move Kayn into a battlefield. You then want to win that combat, or perhaps you move him into a battlefield you already control. And then, because he's still going to be ready, thanks to the Yasuo legend ability, and his ganking ability, you can move him into the other battlefield where he won't take damage. That is so strong, particularly with some of the synergies with the green cards in this deck. For example, on guard, you can pay 1 energy to give your Kayn +2 might, as well as discipline, which allows you to give your Kayn another +2 might for 2 energy. Of course, you can play multiple of these. You can also catch your opponent off guard and do these as combat tricks. But because you're also using the Yasuo legend ability, you're paying 2 energy on that. You should still have around 6 or 7 energy still available to use on these combat tricks. And potentially, because Kayn is going to be moving to both battlefields that turn, that means that if you play 1 discipline and 1 on guard, you're going to have a 10 might Kayn, which on the second showdown, when it moves to a battlefield using its ganking ability, the second time it's moved, you're going to have a 10 might or higher Kayn. The deck also plays Defy, which is another great combat trick. If your opponent tries to fight or flight your Kayn, for example, that's one of the biggest counter plays to this deck. The Defy is going to come in very useful to deny your opponent the opportunity to slow down your big, powerful wombo combo. Because really, if your opponent uses fight or flight or some other combat trick which stifles your Kayn play, you're probably just going to lose the game. Really, the deck is built entirely around this big combo. So another way of having a combat trick like Defy and denying your opponent's potential is very important. Another big piece of the combo that you can add to the mix with the Kayn play is the extremely powerful Charm card, which allows you to move an enemy unit. Very good players will see Kayn coming a mile off. Yeah, so once you've moved Kane twice, if you move him a third time, a fourth time, doesn't matter. Once you've moved him twice, he's not going to take any more damage for the rest of the turn. So that means that you can then charm your opponent's units that might be chilling at the base into Kane's path. I think it's a very, very important card to be included in the deck. The main thing I'm a little bit unsure on is how many Defies and how many Charms to play. I think you certainly want 3 across the main deck and the sideboard, but maybe you just want to have a 2-2 split in this deck, because I do think they're extremely crucial and powerful cards, but also those power costs do become quite hungry quite quickly. Okay, and now on to the Chosen Champion, which, funnily enough, there's actually 2 Chosen Champions in this deck. I mean, you're going to have to pick one to begin with, but the other champion is going to be on the sideboard. And it's important to note that in Game 2 and Game 3, you can bring in the other champion to be your Chosen Champion. So let's look at both of these and talk about the benefits of playing both, because it's going to depend on the specific matchup. Yasuo Windrider is the purple Yasuo. It's got 5 energy cost and 1 power. It has just 4 might with the ganking ability, but the crucial part of this card is the third time I move in a turn, you score 1 point. Cards which can score points in Riftbound should always be respected. This is an unbelievably good way to close out a game, and is particularly good against some meta decks which are quite slow to get going, particularly Dazzling Aurora. They can often take over the game, but Yasuo just gives you that little extra burst, the Yasuo Windrider that is, to win the game against those sorts of slow decks. And then we have Yasuo Remorseful. He's a little bit more expensive at 6 energy, 2 power, and 6 might, but he is extremely, extremely powerful. When I attack, deal damage equal to my might to an enemy unit here. One problem that both of these Yasuo cards have is that they cost a very similar amount to Kane, and I'm always going to be prioritizing Kane over playing one of these. So while I like Yasuo Remorseful, I am certainly currently leaning towards playing the other point scoring Yasuo. But this is going to be a great card to put into your Chosen Champion slot if you're playing against a deck like Annie, for example, that's quite quick, and you just need a little bit more oomph. But because I've got 3 Kanes in my deck, I'm playing lots of consistency with stack deck and things like that. I don't think that you need the Yasuo Remorseful as your Chosen Champion, and I would much rather have the extra speed that the Yasuo Windrider provides in Game 1 to have for sure. Like if I'm playing against Dazzling Aurora, I'm absolutely going to want this card as my Chosen Champion, and I think it's a little bit more risky to include the green Yasuo as your Chosen Champion. So I always go for Yasuo Windrider as my Chosen Champion, but then in Game 2 and Game 3, depending on the matchup, I might bring in the green Yasuo again, particularly against aggro decks where the point is not going to be quite as important. But I just think that against Kaiser, against Dazzling Aurora, you need that extra little bit of aggro potential, and that's why the Yasuo Windrider is my Chosen Champion. But again, I very, very often am going to put this out into the sideboard and put the other Yasuo into the main deck. And I don't think that you want any of these cards in your main deck. I think one as your Chosen Champion plus the 3 Kanes is enough consistency for me. Maybe there's an argument that you could put one of these Yasuos into your main deck occasionally. I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world. That would leave you with 1 Yasuo as your Chosen Champion, 3 Kanes, and the other Yasuo champion in your main deck. I think that that could be serviceable in some specific situations, and you have that flexibility with your sideboard to do so. Yeah, so I mentioned Stack Deck already, and it's just a staple card to play it in purple decks. I think it's possibly the best card in the entire game, and it's particularly important in this one because it helps you find your Kane, your win condition. Even if you don't see the Kane in your top 3 cards, all of the cards, 1 is going into hand and 2 are going into the bottom. You're just searching 3 cards deeper into your deck, and it is allowing you to find your Kane much more consistently. You absolutely need 3 of these in your deck. You would be foolish not to play them. There are 2 other combat tricks which I didn't mention up to this point. Let's cover those now before we look at all of the units that we're playing. We have Ride the Wind, 3 copies of this currently. I could see a world which this gets reduced down to 2 copies, maybe even 1 to fit in some more charms and more defies. Ride the Wind is one of the best move cards in the game because you move a friendly unit and ready it. Of course, there's huge synergy there with the Yasuo that wants to move 3 times. There's also big synergy with the other Yasuo and also the Kane. The reason I say that you could reduce the count of this is because you already have movement available with your legend ability. So it's not super often that I'm finding Ride the Wind to be significantly impactful. But one thing that's really worth mentioning is that you can use Ride the Wind in your opponent's turn, and this will catch off a lot of your opponents significantly, and you can also use this to score points in your opponent's turn. So as an aggro tool, for example, against Dazzling Aurora, this card can be absolutely fantastic. The ceiling of this one is super duper high, but because the Yasuo sort of does something similar, I am wondering if 3 copies is necessary, or if you could perhaps reduce that down a little bit. The other combat trick is, in my opinion, another one of the best cards in the game. It's Fight or Flight. This card can do everything. You're going to be predominantly playing this as a spell for 2 energy, but that extra flexibility to hide this card when you're looking to close out the game and you're very short on energy, you just want to maximize the tempo that you can get. Paying a power to hide this is a great option. You can use this in a variety of ways. You can use this offensively to bounce back your opponent's cards from a battlefield to their base and score a cheap point. But you can also use this to protect your own units and score some movement points with your Yasuo, or perhaps move your Kayn an extra time if necessary. Predominantly though, I'm using this offensively to move my opponent's cards away, but you can also use this on your own cards for sure, particularly with your Yasuo Wind Rider to score that extra point. While we're on the topic of combat tricks, I want to give an honorable mention to Gust. I don't currently play this in the main deck, but I have flirted around with playing it, certainly in the sideboard. I think it's a very reasonable option that you could absolutely test, and it can give you a nice little bit of early game tempo. You do need to be pretty quick with this deck overall. Like, I think that the meta is quite greedy at the moment, and there's a lot of very quick decks, there's some very greedy decks, and just keeping up tempo, like bouncing back one of your opponent's early cards, can be a big deal, particularly when going second. You play a 2-drop on your first turn, and then gust back your opponent's card before it moves, or as it moves, to the battlefield. So I think Gust is a very interesting card, which is one that's on my radar to potentially include down the line. Currently, I maybe have it on my sideboard, or maybe I don't. It's a card I'm a little bit unsure on, but you can't really go wrong with Gust, particularly if you're missing a few other cards in this deck. The other honorable mention is a combat trick which I have on my sideboard. I'm playing 2 copies of Wind Wall, because a single Singularity can absolutely wipe the floor with you on this deck, because you're suddenly going to have your Kayn, even if it's at the base, being targeted, and that can just lose you the game. Also cards like Vengeance, which kill a unit, 6 willpower, 6 might I should say. It is easy to protect with cards like On Guard and Discipline, but if they use something which just says kill a unit, Wind Wall is going to be particularly important. So yeah, Wind Wall I think is a good option against those greedy Victor decks that tend to play a lot of hard removal. And finally, we're ready to talk about the units. There's actually not that many of them. I'm a big believer in having an abundance of 2 energy cards. I hate missing my turn 1, and I think particularly with a deck like this, you do need to win pretty quickly, so it's even more devastating to be missing out on a card on your first turn. Traveling Merchant is a no-brainer. It is giving us consistency. It's helping contribute towards finding our win condition at the right moment. And of course, there's some nice synergy with the other move cards in this deck, allowing you to move it multiple times. We're playing 3 copies of this every single time. I'm also rocking 3 copies of the Stalwart Poro. It is not spectacular, but listen, free might for 2 is solid as a defender. I think you can't really go wrong with playing this Poro, and there's not that many options available, so I like the Stalwart Poro quite a bit. I'm also playing 2 copies of the Clockwork Keeper. I have one of these on the sideboard, which I will be sideboarding in, and we'll talk about that strategy in just a little moment. But this is just a solid card. It is good in the late game when you have an abundance of energy, but you're struggling for cards in hand. There isn't much card draw in this deck, so I think it's a nice option. There is also the Mystic Poro, which I played quite a bit, which is... The Mystic Poro is a solid option. I did remove it from the deck in my current iteration, but you can't really go wrong with the Mystic Poro. There's not a lot to choose between with the Mystic Poro and the Clockwork Keeper, so you can absolutely go ahead and play some Mystic Poros if it's a card which you like. One of the biggest advantages of playing the Mystic Poro is you are able to play the Poro Herder, and this is a card I tested a lot, and I did quite enjoy. When you play me, if you control a Poro, buff me and draw 1. The thing that put me off this card was the power cost. I just found it a little bit too awkward to include. I didn't love the Mystic Poro either, so I did eventually move away from this card, but it's absolutely a super duper reasonable inclusion. So if you want to play 3 Mystic Poros, I would recommend 2 Poro Herders as well. I think it's a very powerful card when used correctly, but just be careful of that power cost. Do not slow yourself down from playing Kayn. So really I found the Poro Herder to just come down a little bit too late for my liking, which is why I ended up removing the Poro Herder and the Mystic Poro, but you can definitely give it a spin. It is not bad at all. Now, probably my favorite 2-drop in the entire game is the Tide Turner. This card just does it all, and I think it's massively, massively underrated by the community. It's 2 energy, 2 might, so it's a fine card to play on turn 1. It's got the hidden ability, which is a nice little benefit to surprise your opponents because it is serving as a combat trick in some senses. And it's of course got big movement synergy with the rest of this deck. But for me, I just love it in decks which don't even have movement because it also gives you a little bit of aggro potential. Let's say you have a traveling merchant at a battlefield which held, you ready it, you can then play the Tide Turner, swapping the position with the traveling merchant and the Tide Turner, and then your traveling merchant is going to be ready at your base, allowing it to move into another battlefield. It's a really nice little combo that you can do to score some extra points in the early game. You just can't really go wrong with the Tide Turner. It gives you more 2-drops while also being a very good card to play in the mid to late game. I just think you can't go wrong with this card. I'm also playing 3 copies of Wielder of Water. I really wanted to find a 4 energy card in this deck which didn't have a power cost, but there's basically nothing available. So the next best thing is the Wielder of Water. I'm not in love with it, but it's a very solid card. 4 might for 3 energy. You can't really go too wrong. And like I say, this just fills the void of the lack of good 4 energy cards which don't cost a power. You really need to get that Kayn down as quickly as you possibly can. If you don't get it down on your 3rd turn, I think you're in trouble. So the Wielder of Water just is a nice little option for a solid unit which isn't costing you any power. And of course, when you're going 2nd, there's that added benefit of being able to play it on your very 1st turn. Finally, the last card we didn't cover is Nocturne Horrifying, and this is my favorite card in Riftbound. But I'm a little bit unconvinced if it's actually worth it in this one. Many players are using like the Mystic Poro and they're using a card called Reinforce to try and make this Nocturne better. I am not bothering with Reinforce. I'm not bothering with Mystic Poro. I tested both of them and I just don't think they're worth it. But I do think that Nocturne is maybe on the fringes of being worth it, but it's absolutely not crucial and it's without doubt a card you could cut. Nocturne has nice synergy with Stack Deck and it gives you a big high roll potential card, which I think is just about worth including in your deck, and you're very often going to be sideboarding it out after the first game because there is some nice battlefield synergy with the first battlefield we play, which just about makes the Nocturne worth playing in my opinion. Of course, also the Tide Turner, or rather the Traveling Merchant, I should say, allows you to discard Nocturne when you draw it in your hand. And I think that synergy that you have with the battlefield, with the Tide Turner and the Stack Deck just about makes Nocturne worth it. The deck can feel it a little bit lacking at times, and that extra oomph that Nocturne gives you can be very important against a deck like Annie. So on to the battlefields now. The Candlelit Sanctum is that battlefield which has heavy synergy with Nocturne. When you conquer here, look at the top 2 cards of your main deck. You may recycle one or both of them and put those back. You don't in any order. So if you see Nocturne off this or your Stack Deck, you are able to pay a power cost and play Nocturne down. One of the reasons I'm a little bit unsure about Nocturne, it is that power cost. In many other decks, I'm very happy to play it to get such a big unit down early on. But in this deck, it will delay your Kayn potentially by a turn. This is the battlefield you're going to be playing when you go first every single time. And you're going to then be sideboarding out your Nocturnes for game 2 and 3. Your replacement for Nocturne is going to be that 1 extra Clockwork Keeper, as well as any copies of Charm or Defy that you have on your sideboard. That's like your go-to vanilla sideboard, but of course, depending on the flexibility and, well, you can be flexible with your sideboard is my point. So you can, of course, bring in other things, but your general gist is going to be any Charms on your sideboard, any Defies, as well as that 1 of Clockwork Keeper. It's always wise to have a designated battlefield in Riftbound that is used for when you go first and one designated for when going second, and this deck is no different. I'm using the Arena's Greatest as my go first battlefield. I don't feel like I have enough might in my early game to be confident that I can make use of the battlefield, which reads when you hold here, draw one, the God Willow. So instead, I think Arena's Greatest is a great option to be good against those slightly slower decks in particular. Going first, we're pretty quick. We can make use of this quite nicely. Even against an aggro deck, it's still more benefit for us than it is for our opponents. It's my favorite battlefield in the game. And finally, this is a little bit of a controversial one, but the Obelisk of Power is growing on me a lot in this deck. I was struggling to find a battlefield that I particularly liked when going second. There was a few options which were like very mediocre, but this had an instant impact when I put it in the deck, because when I'm going second, suddenly I can play my Cane down on turn 2. You're usually at 5 runes on your second turn when going second, but with the Obelisk of Power, that 1 extra rune means you're going to be at 6 on your second turn, and that just gave my deck so much more explosive power. When you're going second in Riftbound, you're feeling a little bit behind, so being able to get the Cane down much sooner feels so damn powerful and made such a difference in my deck when I added this battlefield into the mix. I did also test the back alley bar. When a unit moves from here, give it +1 might this turn. It was so mid, like well below mid, mediocre at best. One benefit of this is your opponent is probably not going to make any use out of this, but it's very rare that I got any use myself either. Extremely niche. You do have a little bit of synergy there with Cane and your ganking units, for example, and it's definitely one that you could play, particularly if you're not wanting to use Nocturne. I think this would be a good replacement for the Candlelit Sanctum, but it's definitely not spectacular, that's for sure. We should also talk about the split of runes. I'm currently caught between playing either 7 Calm runes and 5 purple runes, or 8 Calm runes and 4 purple runes. I think you want that mix. Probably 8 green to 4 purple would be my recommendation, but you definitely can't go wrong with 7 to 5 either. I don't think there's a perfect answer to that question. The final sideboard card I didn't yet mention is Adaptatron. I actually still need to test this myself, but the idea of this one is quite simple. It's good gear removal for dealing with those Dazzling Aurora decks. Also, Master Yi's playing a lot of Zona's Hourglass, which I think I'm pronouncing wrong. But that Hourglass card is also a decent target for this. I think Adaptatron is very solid. The deck is also lacking really 4 energy cards, so it also feels like a decent niche in that sense. So I think it's a very solid card. There is another gear removal you could take a look at, which is the acceptable losses. Each player kills one of their gear. You're not playing any gear, so that's fine. The thing to note, the downside of this one is that your opponent chooses what gear they kill. So if they have 2 gear, they have a very lame small one and a big 9 cost Dazzling Aurora, your acceptable losses is actually not going to remove the Dazzling Aurora unless your opponent has a nosebleed and forgets where they are. So with all that being said, let's take a look at the final list. I am also going to share with you a build which I will experiment with using in the coming days, which is a version without Nocturne. But the general Mulligan strategy with this one is just going to be have a curve. You always want to be playing something on every single turn. So if you've got Nocturne, of course, you're going to be getting rid of that. If you've got multiple copies of Cane, you only need 1. Also, if you've got a bunch of cards in your hand which have power costs, in the early game, cards like Ride the Wind and Defy and even Charm, I would probably just get rid of those in your opening mulligan. You're just looking for a nice smooth curve. You don't want to pay any power costs until your Cane is down safe and sound, and then you can start popping off. So not much changes if you get rid of Nocturne. You're going to see we've swapped in the battlefield as just like a generic vanilla go first or for game 1 battlefield that's going to be a little bit better for you than it is for your opponent. You could play around with this if there's another battlefield which catches your eye. I think like Zorn Warrens is also fine. You can maybe even bring in Scrap Heaps if you go for the Zorn Warren route for your first game. That would be an interesting option. But I just up the count of Defies and the Charms as well as that 3rd Clockwork Keeper. Really the big benefit here is it gives your sideboard a little bit more flexibility. I was able to squeeze in some Defies and also get, squeeze in some Gusts and also get that third copy of the Adaptatron, which I would definitely like. So I am going to experiment with the deck without Nocturne. I think that it's like a fine card in this deck, but not groundbreaking, and definitely something to consider. And I'll be sure to update you guys with the final list that I settle on for my upcoming skirmish. I do hope this deck guide has been helpful. Give it a like if you did, and subscribe for more Riftbound content. And also make sure to check out my brand new Riftbound podcast, Into the Rift, which covered on our first episode a bunch of budget decks. The gameplay you're now going to be seeing is some highlight gameplay from games that I played against my girlfriend Vanessa, who is playing Annie, and she is a mean player. So hopefully you guys can learn a thing or two about both the Yasuo deck, but also how to beat Annie in particular, because I think it's a pretty tricky matchup, but one I was able to get to grips with quite quickly after a lot of games, if I'm honest. And don't forget to check out Card Market, who sponsor this video. Card Market has the biggest marketplace of Riftbound cards online in Europe, and it is the best place to buy singles if you're based in Europe. Quick disclaimer, there's some cards in the gameplay that are not in the final deck. That's because the gameplay was recorded when the deck was a work in progress. I'm always testing and tweaking things to try and get the perfect list for you. You're actually going to see some of the issues the previous deck had with consistency, which is why the list now looks like it currently does. So fear not, the best version of the deck is the one that I've just shared with you. So I hit another Nocturne. So I have Cane, but I want to keep the Cane. I probably just need to find a turn 2, so I get rid of On Guard. Draw 2 new ones. Draw for turn. You go.
So this one's the play. I put a Sneaky Deckhand into Zorn Warrens.
Say it again.
Put a Sneaky Deckhand into Zorn Warrens.
Seems good.
So I discard 1, draw 1. Discard the Traveling Merchant, draw, and pass.
Draw. I'll go here.
Sure.
So I discard and draw first. So I discard, Ride the Wind, draw, go to 2. For 2 I'll play Tide Turner, discard Poro Herder, draw, and then pay 2 for Yasuo, move this here, discard Cane, draw. Your go.
Okay.
Don't think this was very good, by the way, for what it's worth. They're still tapped. I keep running into it. It's turn 4. I even put the Wielder of Waters in there, but I missed them. Turn 2, where you're at 4, is where this feels so rough. Didn't think to run Cane. I think it's the best card, bro. I gotta be honest. I think it's the best card in the whole deck. Like, I think you want to play Cane every single time on your 3rd turn in this deck. It's so good. It's the best card in the deck, by far. It's like the only reason to play this leader, in my opinion. Like, it's actually an insanely good card. My whole deck is kind of built around him as my win condition. Like, I don't think I ever beat you unless he pops off for it. Okay. Nocturne from hand. Not ideal, but it does the trick. You're at 3. Because of...
and
hold
I hide a card.
Sure. My go?
Yep.
This is some quick pace. This is what we need. Love it. Good job.
Thanks.
Go to 3. Draw for turn. So I'm at 6, which means the big man. Every time. If you're not doing that, something's gone wrong. Pay 1 power. Technically should have done this first, but my play would never change, so it's fine. Discard Traveling Merchant, draw. You go. You go to 4. This is basically where you're going to be every single time. You're going to like play a 2-drop on turn 1. Turn 2, you need to like try and do, ideally play 2 2-drops, so like a 3-drop. But you're probably just going to do some like very mediocre stuff, sadly. And then you want to play Kane, all yours. There's an option at 3. All the 4-drops are bad because they cost a power, and I think that's just not an option in this deck. Have to play Kane on 3, or you kind of just lose. Oh, that fizzles, bye-bye.
Oh, yeah, I do it the other way around.
Sure. Yeah.
So discard draw.
Mm-hmm. Titan is tapped as well.
And
I'm just planning my turn, so I already drew in that.
yeah.
My go?
Yeah.
I pay 2. Move Kane here with Yasuo.
Sure.
Does it go through?
Yeah.
So I go to 4. Your guy dies, and then I need to discard and draw. Discard, Poro, draw. I move Kane. Second time he's moved this turn, so he's not going to take any damage in this fight. Okay. So your guy dies. I go to 5.
I always forget that it's
Yeah,
salt.
So your guy dies.
Oh yeah. I mean, I could read the card over him, but like, who does that, right?
Yeah, I agree.
It's +3. It's all that matters. Well, obviously not.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could play the Yasuo, but then I have nothing open, which I think is bad.
Where did I put my hand? Here? Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5. Take out the Canes from the deck? Huh? Bro? What? It's like the only good card in the whole deck, mate. This card is like the best card in the deck by an absolute country mile. It's absolutely absurd how good this card is. Very well, thank you, but I'm losing a lot. I think I pass. You'll go.
Sure.
Or is it just like the 3 might
I
plus 1
to
defender?
Zone Warrens.
Yeah, I'm going to respond. Ride the wind, move Kane there. You do the discard from Travelling Merchant first, though. I kind of shortcutted.
Sure.
I'll score a point for that, by the way.
Yeah, if
If it goes through.
probably will. But I still try.
Defy. Are you targeting mine, I
Yeah.
guess? Yeah, no, I defy. I get to 6, and then I do this. Discard.
You were at 6. I don't like that. Okay. Yeah. Rip. Okay,
That's why I didn't play a Poro last time, because I wanted to be able to do that plus defy. What, are you cleaving?
yeah. Wait, Titan.
Sure, so I kill... I guess it doesn't matter, but I kill the Titan. You get 6.
Discard and draw, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a bit painful.
Well,
Oh, never
you
mind
could
then.
have play the Noxus Hopeful before you move in, because it's free to play.
Yeah.
So you play Noxus Hopeful to base, and then you discard 0 but still draw.
Yeah.
I'm asking her to play quickly, guys. Don't forget as well. Like she's usually playing very meticulously, but taking an extremely long time, which is not the best stream content. It's best this way. It's just about learning, and part of learning is getting reps in and playing quickly, in my opinion. Yep, that seems correct. But I think I win from here. Draw. I go here. Do I score? 7, discard Wielder of Water, draw. You have no cards in hand, right? Okay, fight off light on Noxus Hopeful.
Yep.
Discipline on Tide Turner, +2, draw.
Yeah.
Discipline on Tide Turner, +2, draw. On guard on Tide Turner, so it's +6, so it's 8.
GG.
Nice! So my card's actually pretty good. Don't need 2 of these. Probably we just get rid of both. I like them a lot. Do you think so, draw a third? That's the reality. Ooh! Huge. Your go. Nice addition already. The new guy. The new boy.
The new boy, what does it do?
When I'm attacking or defending alone, I have +2 might. Okay, again, you need to technically do that before, yeah.
Discard draw.
Bro, this battlefield and Nocturne is just so crackers.
Both to the bottom. Then... Wait, it's when you attack alone, +2? That's good.
Yeah, it's a good card. This is basically like the same amount of points any of the 4 drops can get you. Definitely playing this from now. I really need to wee again. It's like
Again?
my 17th wee.
Yeah, what's happening?
I mean, it's just how I am. I'm drinking a lot.
Too much coffee.
Coffee.
The coffee is... Yeah.
Didn't actually have that many coffees today compared to usual.
Okay.
My go?
Yeah.
Sure. Go here?
Yeah.
Am I ever using a leader ability? No, it's just like this.
Yeah, it's yours.
Look at the top 2. Nocturne! Nope.
Oh, I forget to also play him.
Both go to the bottom here. Ride the wind. Move to the arena's greatest.
Ouch.
Go to 3. Horror, pass. You go.
Sure.
The Wielder of Water is on main stage. I go for a wee.
Do it. Sneaky deckhand.
All yours. I think Musket, like a big reason is because if you want to play Leona, you need the signature spell, right? It also might be underprinted. Some of the cards seem like... I mean, if you think about how many copies of, like... I didn't get a single Dazzling Aurora. I didn't get a single one of Leona. Maybe I got 1 signature spell from Leona. Out of, like, 5, 6, 7 boxes. How many boxes did I open?
3?
Yeah, 3.5, 4.
Yeah. For 2.
I spent RRP on boxes. I got 1 box from Rare Hunters that was basically sponsored / free. And then I got some from Riot pre-orders. But I kind of got fluky because you were only supposed to be able to buy a certain amount from Riot. But like I just tried buying more and it went through. So I go to 4. Unless I added that already. No, I didn't. This is a big moment. Where is the cane? Damn it. I missed my cane.
Hmm.
How much do you have open?
3.
Gonna pay 2 to move this. On guard.
So it's plus
Plus 2, so it's 6. Wait.
Sure, I'm waiting.
Nah, that's everything.
Okay.
Go to 5.
Oh,
Your go.
okay.
Yeah, basically my stuff was pre-orders. I haven't bought anything since.
For 5. Play Darius.
Hmm?
For 2. Play Portal.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if I got my place of what I left on top wrong here. Do you mind if I change what I do on the top of the deck? Just put this one card. I'll show you what it is. I don't think I need it.
Okay.
So I'm going to put it to the bottom instead. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
I'm
Do
going
it.
to change my line. And then I'll pay 2 for fight or flight onto Darius.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Did I actually pay for that? Not sure. I'm not doing anything else.
Yeah, I pass.
You got a follow from Combat Glue, Samir. He followed your Twitch.
Oh, thank you. Got baited into it.
So I'm going to pay 2 to move him. Move him. Do I score?
Yeah. Oh, wait. I have 3 open. I have 3 open. No, you don't.
Shoot.
I thought I have 2 open. I don't.
Defy.
Oh.
Whew. So I get 7.
Yeah.
And I still have 5 for this guy. Your go.
If he moves 3 times.
I score a point.
Yeah. I mean, you'll be able to score 3 times. I can't do anything here. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then it's over.
So basically you do some stuff. No, you might actually be able to do something. Because the problem with basically the way that you need to play around this to beat me here is you need to like get more than 4 at each location. Because then if you have more than 4 or 4 or more at each location, I would need to like buff him up somehow, right?
Yeah.
Because I can only move to a location. I can only move 3 times if there's like a location I can actually move to.
Uh-huh.
So it is still winnable. This is why I got rid of the cane as well, because it's not like helping me move him. And also I can't actually, I'm saying it, I can't even move him 3 times with this hand, I can move him twice. I'm missing a card that would allow me to move it a 3rd time. There's Giga not over, you go to 5.
Yeah, okay. Wait, did I? Yeah, I drew this, I think, right? Did I even draw?
I have no idea.
Me neither. It is how it is. I think I drew this. Yeah.
I have Annie still anyway, so you've got plenty of cards.
I had that 1 card.
Yep, that's yours. Did you just add that to your hand?
I'm not supposed to do that. Oh, wait.
Judge.
Oh. Yeah, that's what I thought. 4. Play Annie. Pay a power. Get back the Void Seeker.
That's a problem.
And pass.
Draw.
Do you get right to wind?
Yeah, but I need this to buff it, and then I just need to draw into something that allows me to move it again. So I have to take discipline. Oops. I don't know what I just did. Sorry. Pay 2 for discipline onto Yasuo. Draw! G6. I go here? What did I... Oh, I stacked it plus discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So everything dies. I have 6. You have 5.
Yeah.
You got plus 2. So everything dies.
What?
Nothing. You'll go.
Okay.
GG. You just play 2 cards, you win.
What do you mean?
You just need to play 2 cards and you win.
I only need to play this card and I win.
Oh, flash. Nice. Yeah, GG. Alright, so you beat me again. Thanks everyone for watching. Yeah, so if I actually used the Yasuo Remorseful as my chosen champion for game 3 here, I'm pretty sure I would have won. So you can see, basically just from this game, I had to learn this lesson the hard way. The right moment to change champion. Against Annie, for example, this kind of powerful effect is going to be a lot more impactful than what I actually ended up having in game 3. Like, I think Yasuo Remorseful is better on average as your chosen champion, but the reason I pick the other one as my chosen champion is that card is like so crucial against the slower decks, and I think that it's a nice one to start with, and then you can bring Yasuo for Remorseful in for game 2 and game 3 in specific matchups. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like. Thanks again to Card Market for sponsoring. And also you can check out my Patreon if you want to go one step further to support the channel. On my Patreon, I offer one-to-one support, deck building advice. I do also offer coaching. So if that's something you're interested in, you can check out my Patreon or send me an email. Thanks everybody, and see you on the next video very, very soon.